everyone, it's CricketSong, and this video is going to be covering the next installment of the Witch's Alphabet, which means today's letter is D. And for D, I want to talk about deity. I want to talk about how I'm defining deity and the relationship I've had with deity throughout my witchcraft practice, which kind of starts with my spirituality practice. The birds, hello. Good morning. It's early morning here. It's 6 o'clock. And my friends are with me here this morning. So, deity. How I'm defining deity for the purpose of this conversation is the creator, the force that is imbued in all living things and is within the matter and the energy of everything that exists here on our planet and as part of our planet, the creating force of all the planets, the universe, of everything. Now, some people have different views as to what deity is, but for my perspective, that's how I'm going to define it for this conversation. So since I was a little girl, for most of my life, I've always had the sense that there was something greater than me. I was born into a family of my parents. I was born into a family that was Roman Catholic. Well, most members of the family were Roman Catholic. My maternal grandparents were Roman Catholic, and my paternal grandmother was Protestant, and my paternal grandfather I never knew. He died before I was born. But my mother and father were practicing Catholicism. They were Roman Catholic. So I was born into, my parents being Roman Catholic, so I was raised that way. When I reached the age of high school, I even attended a Roman Catholic high school. So for most of my life, that's all I knew. And so my perception of deity was the Abrahamic God, who is the Father. I was taught that Jesus Christ was the Son, was God made man. So sort of like a combination of God and flesh. Kind of like, a human being possessed by God. And then the Holy Spirit. So it was a God, the Trinity, the Holy Trinity is what I was taught. And the Holy Spirit was God's force that was sent down to earth to inspire, to bless. There was always a purpose when the Holy Spirit was present. So that's what I grew up with, this perception of deity, being a Trinity. In high school, I began to question, was that truly what deity was? But even though I questioned it, I still firmly believed it, and I would pray to God. I would pray. The saints had a big role in my spirituality and my religion, and they were human mediators. You could pray to a saint who then brought your request to God. So in college, I was still a practicing Roman Catholic, but I started really questioning my religion because at college, I lived there, there were people of many other religions. There was a Jewish girl that lived down the hall from me. There were Protestants. They were mostly Christian, other than, like the Jewish girl. So I asked them what they believed, and I even questioned the priest at the time. But it wasn't until I was in my 20s that my relationship with the church was broken, and I became agnostic. I still believed that there was something greater out there, greater than me, some sort of spiritual deity, divinity, greater than me, but it just was not this Abrahamic God, and if it was, whatever. I was not having a relationship with that, and I really couldn't believe at that time that that was the only God, that was the only way of thinking, that was the only correct religion out there. When I was in my late 20s, I then decided, I was pregnant with my son, and I decided that if I was going to have this child, and I wanted this child to understand that there was something greater than him. I think I knew it was a boy. Was him at birth. I wanted to raise him with an understanding that there was something greater than just him. So I began searching for a church to attend to, and I went to a Methodist church, and then eventually and at that time there was still the belief in the Trinity, the God the Father, Jesus the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And then I became a Jehovah's Witness. Now they're Christian, but they do not believe in the Trinity. There is only Jehovah, God. There is only God. Jesus Christ is the Messiah, but there is only God. You only answer to God. So again, back to, the one true God. During this time, however, because I came into motherhood, there was still this fondness for the Mother Mary. The Virgin Mary, when I was Roman Catholic, I believed, she was a virgin. That was what I was taught, so that's what I believed. But she had this presence. For being a Jehovah's Witness, though, she was just a girl who gave birth to the Messiah. She was nothing special. If she had said no to the angel when the angel told her she was going to give birth to the Messiah, if she had said no, another woman would have just been found for that purpose. So she was nothing special. Unlike in Catholicism, she was immaculate and she was ascended into heaven. So after being a Jehovah's Witness, I still questioned. I loved the knowledge that they shared with me and the knowledge of the scriptures and all that, and I appreciated that, and I had wanted to fit in there, but I still didn't believe that theirs was the only true way. I didn't believe that the Catholics was the only true way, and I didn't believe that the Jehovah's Witnesses had the only true way. So it's at this time that I started searching online, and I ran into someone who identified as a witch, and that's when I became involved in witchcraft. So at this time, my perception of deity, my understanding of what deity was, began to expand. Now, I had this belief that there was not just one true God. So the idea that there were many gods, or there were many facets of one God, or one creator, or there were different pantheons that all imbued this energy, or there was just a universal energy that was represented by different gods. This became very attractive to me, and I really understood that more than that there was just one true God. So I started practicing Wicca, an eclectic form of Wicca. So then my understanding of God became goddess and God. And goddess for me at first had the image of the Blessed Mother, Mother Mary. She became a representation of the goddess for me. The God was elusive because at the beginning I was so angry at the Abrahamic God, which had always been presented to me as as God the Father. There was only Father. So I was really angry at that. So I understood that there was a counterpart to Mother Mary. I just had no name for it. It was just the God. Along my practice, my matron, my goddess, became Bast, fierce cat goddess. And as time went on, I began understanding that there was a God, and that God came to be Thoth at some point and Anubis at other points. So I began working with this dynamic of two sides, two halves, a day and a night, and this whole understanding of masculine energy and feminine energy, and that's how my understanding of deity continued. And usually it was with personified gods. Bast, Isis, Danu, Thoth, Anubis, Cernunnos. Those are the gods I worked with. Those are the gods I communed with. So from an unknowable God, creator, I began understanding about, personified gods. Mother Mary or Cernunnos, they were personified. And I had this understanding that personified gods were the expressions of this unknowable energy that I could have a closer relationship with, because there was this larger creative force, this universal source that was so disconnected from human forms that my human brain could not comprehend what it meant, what this universal force meant, other than it gave life, it gave existence, it was what started everything and what ran through everything. But I also understood that there were personified gods that I could connect with in order to try to gain a greater understanding of what deity in its vastness was. Now, in my own practice, I do work with forces of nature, forces of the earth, forces of the primordial existence, the divine masculine and divine feminine, and universal source. So instead of the need to work with personified deity or images of deity, I don't find the need that I anymore within my own practice. While when I'm doing magic or casting spells, I may work with personified deities if I feel the need to, and Mother Mary still has a role within my practice. She still is my first mother. If I look back, she always had a presence, even as a little girl. She was my mother. My father, when I was a little girl, was my dad. I mean, granted, there was God the Father, and sometimes throughout my life I had this really love for Jesus, but I think that was just a love for God, for this universal source that I could understand more in a personified God form. Now I can feel the energy of the creative source. I can feel the love and the energy and the influence of the master creator within nature. And I commune and I work with and I have relationships with the spiritual realm, understanding that it is connected to that energy. And I can gain a greater understanding of deity or the divine source through these things, instead of me at this point in my life having a need for personified images or forms of that source. So I do believe in deity. I do believe in the gods. I do have an understanding of the gods. I have a little understanding of the creative force of deity in the larger sense, as much as my human mind can comprehend. I'm not agnostic because I do identify as pagan. So I recognize the pagan gods. I recognize the deity within the nature around me. I work with the nature spirits. I work with the spirits of trees and plants. I commune with them. I commune with the land that I reside on. I work with the dead. I work with the spirits of the unseen realms. And as I said, I understand they're all manifestations of that one universal source energy. So my understanding of God or deity is more abstract these days. And I'm okay with that. So I'm interested in how you perceive deity, how you would define it, and how deity has played a role in your personal witchcraft practice, if any. Until next time, I love you. Blessed be.